Hey, what's up, guys? It's Renaldo here. So, I came across this podcast by The Common Sense, and Frans Cronje, top left, who is the previous CEO of the Institute of Race Relations, had a little portion that he spoke about Afrikaners and the Freedom Front Plus. And I just wanted to correct some mistakes as an Afrikaner myself. I don't speak on behalf of all Afrikaners. This is my opinion as a Afrikaner. I'm sure many other Afrikaners have got a different point of view, but there's some clear misconceptions here. I've got a lot of respect for Frans Cronje. He is brilliant at formulating strategies and talking about what's happening in South Africa. But I do think that on this occasion, I think he didn't really apply his mind to what the current Freedom Front Plus has become, and instead still focuses on the Freedom Front Plus that he remembers from a decade or more ago. So let's have a listen.
About Afrikaners later in the show too, to deal with this right-wing whatever business. But you'll give me a chance to do that.
I mean, do you want to just do it? Do you want to take that now?
Yes, sure. There's this, why, it's a discussion I had with some Afrikaners in the last week or so. Why does the Freedom Front get 1% of the vote, or 2%, or whatever, 1 or 2?
Well, I can answer that. The reason that the Freedom Front Plus gets 1 to 2% of the vote is because for the longest period of time, people assumed that the Freedom Front Plus is a right-wing organization and it only represents Afrikaners and it only represents white people. So you already cut off all of the English-speaking white people in this country, and you cut off minorities and people of majorities that would support conservatism. The emphasis, I believe, from the Freedom Front Plus for the last few years have always been on securing Afrikaner rights and minority rights. And this has now expanded into conservatism as a whole. 85% of this country is conservative because 85% of this country believes in Christ. They are Christians. So I think the misconception of what conservatism is and what the Freedom Front Plus stood for. A lot of people make the mistake to think that, oh, the Freedom Front Plus would have supported apartheid. Well, the Freedom Front Plus came into existence in 1994, and the Freedom Front Plus is based on conservative values. Apartheid was caused by nationalism, not conservatism. So there's this misconception, and we all know that from 1994 till about 2014, a conservative was used as like an insult, as an attack on people who they perceive to be close-minded, when in actual fact now you can see that being a conservative is actually the rational thing to do, because liberalism has given us woke leftism, men and women's bathrooms, men and women's sports, children that can decide what gender they want to be from 3 or 4 years old. So liberalism is not the answer. And the ANC has clearly demonstrated to us that communism and socialism is not the answer.
And the DA gets 20, and therefore many more Afrikaner votes than the Afrikaners party gets.
The reason for that is because the DA has become the political party that people vote for when they want to stop the ANC. And for many years, the DA was a legitimate opposition party. But since 2024, the DA has become part of the GNU. And if you look at the performance of their ministers, specifically John Steenhuisen, you can see that the DA is far more open to implementing ANC-esque policies like state control. The DA was also against Bella before the election. They were against NHI, against EWC. But now they've got two ministers that are implementing these policies that they promised their voters before the election that they would not support and fight against. So this is also going to change drastically. I think the DA is going to lose a large chunk of their Afrikaner support, of their white support, because they feel betrayed. Not because the DA is open to black South Africans or colored South Africans or Indian South Africans. It's purely because they have moved away from their opposition role in fighting the ANC, and more people see them as just the ANC light. So To answer the question, the reason that the DA's got so much support is because of parents telling their children, vote for the DA to keep the ANC out, the DA delivering in the Western Cape, and everybody thinking that it's only the DA that can give service delivery because the other example is the ANC. So I think that this is going to shift in the 2026 municipal elections. I think that the Freedom Front Plus is going to surprise a lot of people.
Freedom, in as far as the Freedom Front is that. And the reason is the Afrikaners are not properly understood. They're not a right-wing, they're a very centrist, very cosmopolitan, very moderate community.
I agree with them 100% here. Like this misconception that Afrikaners are right-wing and because of apartheid. You know, people think the National Party represents all Afrikaners and therefore all Afrikaners are right-wing nationalists, when in actual fact it's not the case. It's never been the case.
They're in fact not particularly nationalistic at all. So much so that it worries the Afrikaner leaders who are nationalistic that the people aren't, you know, they'll speak English if you give them half a chance. And
that is actually very true, because if you find 5 Afrikaners and 1 English person around a braai, the Afrikaners will speak English to accommodate the English person, because that's just in our nature. It's just in our nature.
Allow their daughters to get tattoos or whatever the thing is that one does. And that goes to...
That is just such a misconception, because I would argue that Afrikaans men and women have got so much more tattoos than English South Africans. And I've seen this. Like, I mean, I live in the community. I know.
We were critical of the refugee policy in one respect. The American one. You know, you can go to America and be a refugee if you're an Afrikaner. In one respect. And the respect was that it suggested at a certain level that the Americans did not understand the Afrikaners either, because the dominant motivating force in Afrikaner political behavior is inclusion, to be included in the country. I think largely a sort of strange echo of the policy that Afrikaners had enforced on South Africa formally since 1948.
Well, I agree to an extent that since 1994, Afrikaners have been targeted by the ANC, not through only race-based policies, but also in attacking our language, attacking our culture, more so than English white South Africans or any other cultural group in South Africa.
And they desire the opposite of that, to be part of. And the Freedom Front positions itself as exclusive. Its new slogan is "It is our time," and that is a very narrow definition. I mean,
I'll give my opinion now. I just want him to finish his thought.
If that had been the election slogan in 1948, it might have worked, but this is long thereafter, and they vote.
So, no, I mean, clearly, Frans, you didn't get it. It's our time means the people of South Africa that have been left behind. And that speaks to black, colored, Indian, and white South Africans that have not seen the benefits that cadres have seen in this country, the well-connected to the ANC. That slogan speaks to every single South African that did not benefit in any way from the ANC government. So that speaks to the unemployed. It speaks to those that are victims of crime. It speaks to those who have to live in terrible conditions because the ANC has stolen money that was meant to go towards new hospitals, new clinics, new schools, etc., etc. So it's our time. You are racializing it. You are making it a cultural thing when in actual fact it's not. It's our time. This own state literally means us as South Africans that the ANC has failed. And the Freedom Front Plus is definitely not exclusionary in the sense that we are saying you can't be part of who and what we are. What we are saying, unlike the Democratic Alliance, is if you are not a conservative we are probably not the political party for you. Whereas the DA is saying, we welcome everybody. Come on, black, white, colored, Indian, Asian, communist, socialist, radicalist, whatever the terminology is, join us, just vote for us. And that's the distinction between the two parties, is the Freedom Front Plus knows who and what they are, and they don't want to disappoint people to join them and then realize that this is not the party for them. That, in actual fact, is just telling people who and what you are, which is a scarcity in politics in South Africa. You don't see political parties telling people that you should probably not join us if you don't support conservatism. So instead of seeing this as a breath of fresh air, you are completely misunderstanding, firstly, what the slogan is and what the Freedom Front Plus stands for.
The DA, because the DA is by its nature, its positioning is so broadly inclusive. And
Yeah, but why don't you delve into that? Like, how can you be a centrist organization or a liberal organization, but then you welcome communists in, you welcome conservatives in, you welcome socialists in? Like, what does your party then stand for? Because you can't formulate policy that represents communism, socialism, liberalism, and conservatism. So what then does the DA stand for if they stand for everything? If they stand for everything, then they fall for everything. And ultimately, then they stand for nothing.
I don't know, but there's some very sharp guys around the DA, and they would certainly know this. I think that if you attack the Freedom Front and all kinds of trolls come crawling out and shouting at you that you're I don't know, whatever you are, sort of right-wing slur things, and then the
You see, this is also like, Frans, with all due respect, you are focusing on the trolls from the right wing that comes out, but have you not noticed the same from the Democratic Alliance? Have you not noticed how their supporters come out and just accuse people of the most vile things? It's almost as if you're trying to drive this narrative that the Freedom Front Plus and the Freedom Front Plus supporters are automatically in the wrong, because in your mind you've made up the thing that they are exclusionary and they don't want to embrace all of South Africa, when in actual fact that's exactly what we're doing. And that is specifically under the leadership of Dr. Cronje Mulder, which I have to say, the reason that I joined the Freedom Front Plus was I enjoyed Cronje Mulder, his vision for the future, not only for the party, but for South Africa. And I think that you still have perceptions of what the Freedom Front Plus stood for 10, 15 years ago. And unless you go and update your own perception and read what the Freedom Front Plus actually want to achieve and not base it off of the old perceptions that you have, then perhaps your view will be a little bit more neutral.
Respond and fight back and say, no, that we're great, and that all that's doing, it's reinforcing the perception in Afrikaner society that the Freedom Front is an exclusive, small, narrow group, because it sounds like that, and the DA is a much broader group. And
No, but so what you are saying is, when you have Jordan Hill-Lewis attacking Dr. Pieter Groenewald out of the blue for the parolees that went missing from 1991, if the Freedom Front Plus and their activists and their voters stand up, and listen, this was broadly, like, this was even from people from the DA that condemned the DA for doing this, and Jordan Hill-Lewis, you are perceiving this to be the Freedom Front Plus. Like, I mean, what would you expect people to do when Jordan Hill-Lewis overlooks 5 or 6 ANC ministers that were the former ministers of agriculture, in which these parolees went missing, and then he blames a minister that's actually doing his job, and I would argue is one, if not the best performing minister in the GNU right now? You are saying that the rightful response of being angry at Jordan Hill-Lewis and the DA for trying these politics, that the Freedom Front Plus is wrong and the DA was right. Like, it makes no sense.
Afrikaners might be frustrated with the DA. They might be very worried about what it's done in with schools and foot and mouth disease, the most abysmal failure of government that South Africa has seen in 50 years, if you want to call it that. It's that bad. It's shocking. But that will all be overridden by that foundational motivation of inclusion. And therefore, you can say there's some Afrikaners around that are shouting about the DA, they don't like it, they don't trust it. That's fine, you can say that on social media as much as you like, but what are you going to do when you stand in the box and you vote? And it's obvious what they're going to do, particularly given that the DA has this advantage now in the fear that Mashatile might come. And
I can promise you that come election day, more Afrikaners, more white South Africans, more English white South Africans, more colored people, and more black people will be voting for the Freedom Front Plus. Because you are giving the DA this God-given right that they should get any vote of somebody that opposes the ANC. And you are also just making this an Afrikaner thing when it's not just that. It's white South Africans, Mengels, and English and Afrikaans. Mengels, of course, meaning a mixed family of Afrikaans husband marrying an English wife, or vice versa, And ultimately, I truly think that your perception of the Freedom Front Plus is based on a decade or longer old Freedom Front Plus and not the current Freedom Front Plus. And I think that you should take some accountability and responsibility that if you want to speak on the Freedom Front Plus, that you speak on who the Freedom Front Plus is in 2026, because you are speaking about who the DA is in 2026, but you're not speaking about who the Freedom Front Plus is in 2026. You are speaking on your perceptions that you have of the Freedom Front Plus, which is clearly outdated. And I think that you need to be wary of the fact that you are speaking to an audience that respects you and listens to you. And if you want to continuously talk about a Freedom Front Plus that doesn't really exist in that shape and form anymore, then perhaps you should not be giving commentary on the Freedom Front Plus.
For you must stick with them. And I think in the same way that there certainly are Americans who do not understand the Afrikaner, take it for granted, some sort of right-wing community that wish separation from society. That is completely wrong. You
see, this is also a big misconception that you've fallen for because of mainstream media. And I do expect better from you, considering that you know the tricks from mainstream media. Ultimately, what is at play here is if you look at the laws in this country that discriminate against white people and what the Bella Act is doing for Afrikaans or against Afrikaans, and if you look at all the race-based policies in this country, then surely you can understand why Afrikaners are fighting so hard for their language, for their culture, for the public holidays that they have. And if you can't understand or comprehend that, then I would recommend that you go and look at the Bella Act. And I'm sure you are aware of what it's doing to Afrikaans as a medium in schools. And over the last 32 years in this country, Afrikaner culture and language have been the ginger stepchild of South Africa. Nobody wants to help, nobody cares, and everybody just wants to make sure that it's not included in the bigger framework of South Africa. And the fact that you are just blasting over that for the last 32 years is also problematic.
Impetus of the broad collective of Afrikanerdom, in as far as that is a thing today, still is for inclusion with South Africans who are different to them. And the DA understands that very well. The Afrikaner right, not. Ask James a question.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see what happens this election. I'll end it there. I think that a lot of people that are political commentators that are sitting in their ivory towers don't really see what's happening on the ground. And even people watching this, I'm pretty sure that you can feel that there's a change in the air. Now, it might not be a change where the DA loses half of its support and the Freedom Front Plus gains like 10 or 15%. But there is definitely going to be a shift where the Freedom Front Plus goes from a 1 to 2% party to potentially a 5 or a 7 or 8% party. And remember, in 1994, the DA was a 1% party. And that was before the internet, that was before social media. So, where it took the DA many, many years to go from 1% to 22%, for the Freedom Front Plus, it can go from 1 to 2% to 20% in 2 election cycles because of the access to information that we have and real-time things that take place. So I think also it's important that people need to understand the mood in this country and how disappointed people are in the GNU. But like I said, this is not an attack on Frans Cronje. I've got the utmost of respect for him, but clearly I believe that his perception of what right-wing Afrikaners are and what the Freedom Front Plus are is really, really outdated. And I would recommend that he perhaps just speak to Dr. Corne Mulder and the Freedom Front Plus leadership to perhaps update his views on who and what the Freedom Front Plus is. But yeah, that's my input. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. That's it. Till later. Cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. My massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say I went my massacre. My massacre.